Okay, so anyway, this one's a few days old from the Los Angeles Times. USPS mail found dumped in 2 spots in Glendale, prompting investigation. Okay. So, anybody who follows politics or who follows American history within the past 60 years or so, you should know that there are events that are planned. I want to stay away from the super conspiracy stuff, whatever. But there are things that happen that people plan for to cause some end result. I don't think I can say that any more judiciously. Okay, so right now what we have is a federal government that's trying to discredit mail-in voting, trying to reduce the pool of people who are voting. That's not something you can really argue, I don't think. They're not telling you that. They're not saying that. But that's what all of their actions are doing, is trying to limit the pool of voters, regardless as to what ends they say that's for. If you want to believe that's because voter fraud is rampant and they're just trying to fix that, fine. But regardless, the end result is they're trying to count fewer votes. They're trying to have fewer people voting. So to meet that, because so many people are going to be mail-in voting this election due to the coronavirus, there have been a number of structural changes at the post office that will make it more difficult for the post office to function. Now, I've talked about this, I think, elsewhere, maybe not. I've bitched about it in my personal life a lot. But the problem is, what they're saying is that the massive budget cuts and structural changes at the post office, they were planned. You know, it's not anything that has directly to do with the president or with the election. The new postmaster general just happens to have been from a contractor, a postal service contractor who's made hundreds of millions of dollars from post office contracts. But this is all just planned, whatever. Dude, you got to have both eyes and ears closed to actually believe that. That's insane. Nothing in this year has been planned. So if there were planned cuts and all that kind of stuff, change the plan. Like everything else has happened this year to ensure a free and fair election. But they're not going to do that. You know, hell, we'll just go down the conspiracy. They're not going to do that because they don't want so many people voting. They want to keep shrinking that pool. They want to make it harder for people to vote. They want to have more reasons to discount votes that come in. Okay, so how would you do that? Because public opinion matters here, obviously, because it's a presidential election. So the president or the White House can't just, tell the post office, oh, actually, we're only going to deliver mail 3 days a week now. Obviously, that would be just way too on the nose and way too blatantly corrupt because of the role that the post office is going to have in the election this year. So what do? Well, to turn the tide on public opinion, maybe you make the post office work less efficiently. You make them make more errors, like when they cut off the sorting machines at a bunch of facilities across the country. All of a sudden, I don't know about you guys, but I'm telling you, the day that news story came out, my mail was delivered 5 hours later, and it has been delivered 5 hours later than it always was every single day. So these changes are being felt across the system, obviously, because I don't live in a battleground state and I don't live anywhere near Washington, D.C. So these are pretty widespread changes that are affecting the way it works everywhere. Okay, so maybe that's one thing you do. You make it work less well so that public opinion starts questioning the efficacy of the post office in general. Well, maybe that's not happening fast enough, or you just want to hammer that in a little better. What do? Well, maybe you have unmarked rental trucks dump mail in locations to show that, hey, if you do vote by mail, it might just get thrown in the river. You better show up in person, and we totally know you're not going to do that because you're scared of the pandemic. Is this 4D chess? Is this that complicated to see? I don't think so, but I'll be damned. I haven't heard anybody talking about this. I haven't heard anybody saying that, hey, somebody is trying to discredit the Postal Service before the election, regardless as to whatever they're going to do during the election to make mail-in voting less reliable. Right now, they are making changes to make you think less of the post office. So, I mean, look, I've been on this planet for a few years. I have never, ever heard of USPS mail just being dumped somewhere. I mean, hell, that's several felonies. The US mail is very protected legally in terms of its confidentiality and stuff like that. This is not something. I mean, dude, if you mess with a post office worker, if you assault them or something, it's a felony. It's a federal felony. Okay, so no, mail is not just sitting in buckets outside the back door of their sorting facilities for anybody to come along and scoop up. So let's think about this non-conspiratorially. If this is not a cohesive plan to sow distrust in the Postal Service, what else could it be? Well, when you start bankrupting an institution, robbing them of resources, people are going to do extreme things. So maybe because that stuff is going on, some random manager or worker in the post office decided, hey, let's go dump a bunch of mail so we don't have to deal with it, just to get it over with, get it out of our system. That's possible too. Either way, I think the blame lies with the person who runs the whole thing. And I don't know how you could really make an argument to say otherwise.